We're back live at A3C with the Atlanta Innovation Studio, powered by MailChimp. I'm Alex Gonzalez. I'm here with good friend Audra Pittman. How you doing?
Happening, Alex? I'm happy. It's a good Friday, man.
It is a great Friday. We're here at A3C.
This is so huge.
And I know that it's the lull now because there's a session going on.
Yes.
But what do you think of all this energy right now between creative and tech?
You know, this is just so Atlanta, right? It's culture, it's tech, it's innovation. It shows how the collision of everything makes everything great, and that's why Atlanta's great. I mean, that's why we're here.
So how does, of course, you do everything SCAD.
Yes,
so
all things SCAD.
Talk a little bit about SCAD and how it fits into this ecosystem, because if I talked before, sometimes people think it's just art, which is really important, but it is very broad.
Oh my gosh, I always feel like SCAD, this is one of my dream jobs because we're on the cutting edge.
Right.
Nothing stale, nothing stagnant. Every day is like, oh, we're doing this is new. And innovation, if you think about it, I was just talking to Kamal Bob, right?
Yep.
And he's Mr. STEM. And I'm like, no, it's STEAM. He's like, well, then that's education.
It is STEAM.
But I'm like, okay, so imagine Shuri from Black Panther. She's designing,
Yes.
her brothers. I'm like, if she didn't have the creativity, the innovation, the foresight, fabric, textiles, that thing would have looked like a clearance bin at a Halloween store. I mean, we wouldn't have Black Panther, you know? So I feel like creativity, design, convergence, divergence, like the way you think as an artist lends itself to tech and innovation. It's what sets apart brands from other. I mean, I kind of joke about Apple. I mean, we all have phones, but what sets Apple apart is the storytelling, it's the graphics, the design, everything. So that's what we do at SCAD, man.
Absolutely. And so have you felt really this growth? I mean, well, let me go back. Yesterday, Ben Chestnut, of course, of Mr. MailChimp.
Yes.
He was on here in the studio, and he was on stage at Venture Atlanta as well. But while in the studio, he talked a lot just about creative talent, and he says that's the X factor for
it's what sets
Atlanta.
Apart. Totally.
So have you seen a movement in a creative talent here?
Oh my gosh, we just welcomed our largest class ever into
wow.
SCAD. We've seen a lot of people, if you think about the pandemic, right? What were we doing when you were locked up in home? We're looking at content, we're looking online. You gotta think about what sets apart. Streaming services, all of it is content. And we're creating content at SCAD, and that's what everyone comes to Atlanta for. I was just talking to folks, I said, when I moved here, it's the opportunity that exists in Atlanta. That's what makes people like allure and everything, like anything's possible because everyone works together. It's the collaborations.
And how do you see it going in the future? Like what sort of fields are you seeing people going into?
Well, I can tell you our top programs, obviously film and television, animation, motion media. We ranked #1 for I think the 5th year in a row by Rookies for motion media. And I think people take for granted like the commercials you see, or everything's designed by someone. It doesn't just happen. It's not just magic, And think about a good pitch deck versus a bad one. Think about great design and what it does and how it sets people apart. So I see the future as user experience, user interface, industrial design. You look at cars. We had Porsche come visit by. We have the Porsche experience here in Atlanta. And I'm like, do y'all understand someone literally sculpts the car 10 years in advance? They're looking at it now and how people interact with it. So there's the sky's the limit, honestly.
And being a creative is not about just, you don't even have to draw to be a creative.
No, well, they got to take foundations
That's
classes.
true.
And a lot of them but it helps them understand.
Because the academic
but it helps them understand the foundation, like the principles, the elements of art.
So you won't be able to go into SCAD? I can't
You
draw.
can. We'll get you a coach. We have visual coaches. Alex, we got you. We got you, man. But, it's helping people understand, what's perspective, what's value, what makes good design. So like when you're on a set, you understand that something in the foreground has more prominence than something in the background. So it's all the terminology, the language. We're helping build the vocabulary for our students so that when they go out into the field, they're able to articulate why something needs to be different or how something can be better.
Right, and I think it's so important too, if I think about even in big companies in particular, like there's so much structure and process analysis, which is so important. But that creative element, which is just the thinking, which is a little bit of driving that little bit of disruptive nature or thinking about curves instead of straight lines. It's so important. And
what's even funnier is like I look at Virgil Abloh, right? He's like Louis Vuitton men's designer. His actual idea is like he just changes 10% of something. So a lot of the things he has, you're like, wait, they already had that, but he puts off-white on it, and all of a sudden it's completely different. People look at it differently. So sometimes it just takes 10% of thinking differently, of thinking how you can create something, add something, take away something, and just think about it in a new way.
And I think it's also looking at different things outside of your
Oh,
norm.
absolutely. See, you know, I take you on tour SCAD all the time.
Yeah, of course, love it.
And sometimes people just walk by these textiles, and I'm like, wait, stop. Look at this large textile taking up the whole wall, right? This is Trish Anderson. People are like, great. She's from Dalton, the carpet capital of Georgia.
Right.
And if people stop and look at it, they'll notice, oh my God, there's red outlines of Coke bottles. Well, Coke commissioned her to do this piece.
That's great.
To launch, you know, Peach Coke. So sometimes people just, you know, they get so caught up in every day and what's going on. You're like, stop, process, reflect, think, look at something. And that's what we do at SCAD. We help people see in a different way.
And how do you like now the growth of the neighborhood you're in? Of course, you're in Midtown.
Oh my
and
gosh,
you now have,
man.
You know, I think your neighbor, Georgia Tech, and Hooker Broward talked about it's the hottest tech neighborhood in the country.
It's like this infill. I'm like, how much higher can we go?
And it's kind of cool because you have like a train company like Norfolk Southern coming in as a tech company.
Yes,
you have
Microsoft across the bridge.
Yeah. You must love this growth.
Oh my God, it's like perfect for admissions. I'm like, come on,
exactly.
Look at all we have here. Oh, Mercedes in the distance, you know, the gathering spot. Like
and lots of good restaurants too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, COVID 10, but no, it's so good. I love the energy. I mean, Midtown, this area is where it's at.
And then also, I think a lot of exciting too, because this will transition to whom you're going to talk to next. Of course, you know this guy who you talked about. You know, Black Panther, the guy who is in charge of curating that place. Got a Trilla Studios.
Oh yes, Trilla, another selling point of Atlanta.
There's so much excitement. I mean, this is really, and in fact, I was just at Trilla recently. It's unbelievable. And then you look at also some of the other studios in town, Third Rail and all that. I mean, it is real. This is
not
the
talking
place
it. We're
for
living
movies
it.
and
We're
film.
doing it. Yeah.
And I imagine you're seeing that with your students and the studios reaching out to you as well.
And what I love is that our students are getting experience before they graduate. You know, I remember in college, like, oh, let me focus on classwork and then I'll graduate and figure out what I'm doing with my life. They're getting these job offers before they even graduate because they're PAs on sets, or they're getting director experience, or they're meeting the cast and the behind the scenes folks. So it's pretty cool, man.
Well, we're going to turn it. So Audra is going to be joining us for the rest of the afternoon. She's going to be running the conversation with Frank Patterson, who of course is president of Trilla Studios, an amazing creative himself.
Yeah.
And then speaking of also creative and tech, you're going to be joining me in a conversation with Paul Judge and David Cummings, who really have been the catalysts of so much happening here in Atlanta. So looking forward to that conversation.
Sounds good, man.
So until then, we're going to take a few minutes here to kind of reset here, and then come back here on the Atlanta Innovation Studio, powered by MailChimp, live at A3C.